Hi, this is Chuck Gardner, and this is part 2 of my lighting tutorial about flash. A little bit of change in plans. I didn't do the nighttime shots like I was planning to last night, but I've come out about the same time as I was photographing yesterday out on the deck, and I've taken some photos with dual flash. Because this is really the challenge in digital photography in these kind of lighting conditions. It's gotten much better with the modern cameras, particularly with video. I'm shooting this on my Canon R6 Mark II in C-Log 3 mode. And that requires you to shoot at ISO 800 and for cinematic shutter speeds, I'm shooting at 1/50 of a second. And because of the bright conditions, what I do is I use my old EF lenses. I'm using my EF 2470, but I'm using a variable neutral density filter between the lens and the camera, and that allows me to adjust whatever aperture I want for depth of field, and then I can just dial in the exposure with the variable neutral density filter, which I find much easier than trying to use a neutral density filter on the end of a lens. So what I did here is set up the camera on the tripod in video mode and still mode, and then I took some video and still photos, and I triggered the flashes with the Godox X3 trigger, which sits in the hot shoe of the camera. Initially, I tried to put the fill flash on top of the camera, but there's a problem with the Godox transmitters, the X3 that I've discovered, which is if the distance between the transmitter and the flash that it's trying to trigger is less than 6 inches, the Wi-Fi doesn't work. It's not a problem with the flash, it's just one of the quirks of Wi-Fi. So what I have set up here, I'll show a still photograph of the setup. I've got my camera on my tripod. The lens is slightly above my eye level. My eye level is here. The camera lens is up here looking down a little bit to try to hide the nose holes. Usually if I'm posing for a still photograph, I'll tilt my head down and turn it sideways so it hides the nose holes. That's something that Monty taught me to do. If you can see the notch holes, your camera's too low. So I put one flash behind the camera and I put the other to the side at 45 degrees from my nose, and both flashes were at full power, 1:1 manual power, and the ratio was set up so it was slightly less than a 2-to-1 ratio, about 1.5 to 1 fill. And the reason I did that is I wanted to illustrate that when you have a fill flash on your camera, the perception of hard and soft in lighting is more a function of the brain's reaction to the tone of the shadows relative to what you could consider normal in a situation. Now, if you look at the still photos of the results of the flash, it looks a little bit fake because the face is brighter than the background. It's a little bit brighter than normal than you would expect. But in this case, that's intentional. I use the shutter speed and overall ambient exposure to bring the background down a little bit so the face, which is the focal point, will contrast. That's something else that Monty taught me. Make the face the star of the show. Put it in the spotlight. Now, what I would normally do indoors is use my diffusers. I started making my own diffusers in 2004 when I got into studio photography and I started doing lighting tutorials on the digital photography forum, lighting forum, and digital photo review, that's what it was, lighting forum. And so I would post the results with my speedlight flashes, and then I bought a set of studio lights to play with those. And then I started playing around with diffusers because everybody was using these Gary Fong Tupperware cap things, which are really pretty useless because they don't increase the area of the flash very much. My first iteration of flash diffusers I actually made out of mat board. I used cardboard, mat board, and tape, black masking tape. And then someone online suggested using this fun foam stuff. These are sheets of foam you could find at Hobby Lobby and other stores. And it's just like 2 mm thick foam. And so what I did is I stitched them together, and then I put a piece of mesh from a cross stitch in the middle to stiffen them up. And the idea here for the diffusion is normally when I'm using these indoors where there's a low ceiling, and unlike the spears that shoot the light everywhere and waste it, this bounces most of it forward, but there's also spill off the ceiling. So what you get is a combined key light and fill effect. And I have made these things out of bond paper and rubber bands and staples. You can make a diffuser like this out of almost everything. The reason this thing is red here is because when I'm shooting with the flash above the heads of the subjects, I will tell them, look at the red thing. And that will get their eyes up into the light so they don't look down and their brows shade them. That's a problem anywhere when you have outdoor and skylight. My brows are probably shading my eyes a bit here, and I really have to look up into the sun in order to get the better light, fill light in my eyes. But then the camera's shooting up my nose, so it's a trade-off. I really need to get the camera up about 8 feet high with my nose. So this was the first iteration. It's a small size, it's manageable. If you're shooting events, it doesn't block photographers behind you very much. I have also made larger versions out of larger sheets of this fun foam. This is the fun foam, and I don't even have a stiffener in it. And then I connected the top with my snap tool so I could either open the flap or not. This one here, I was at a TJ Maxx shopping one day and I saw these placemats. This is a table placemat that was black on one side and silver on the other. And I said, oh, wow, that'll make a good reflector. Basically, anything that you can bend in this shape and either tape the corners or put snaps or Velcro, you can make a reflector out of. Just get some white paint and paint one side white and the other side black, and then you have something that looks professional. I like to say, you know, black is the pro color, right? So that's the story behind the diffusers and the flash. But the point of using direct flash outdoors here is that the direct flash is more in context with the direct light of the sun. So it looks in context. The direct specularity of the direct flash indoors wouldn't look as natural because you don't expect that kind of specularity on the skin when you're photographing with flash indoors. So that's the backstory here. Now, the equipment, the flash equipment today that Godox makes is so inexpensive and so good in terms of functionality, it's crazy not to use it. This is my second R6 Mark II body, and on it I have the new Godox. It is the IT32. And the neat thing about this IT32 is you can separate the flash head from the base in order to get it above the head of the subject. It overcomes the limitation of having the flash on the axis. And I also, this part here is an extender for the flash to raise it above the lenses. So when I'm out shooting in daylight, this is on my camera all the time now. And then my other third camera, this is actually the first body that I bought with the R6 Mark II, and it has the older IT30 model flash on it. It does not separate, but with this TR base for Canon, I am able to tilt it to bounce it if I need to, but I can't take it off and separate. Now, the neat thing about both of these small units is they also act as a transmitter for these guys here. So you can actually set up and have these two flashes in group A and B, and this one in A, and those two in B, and get dual flash lighting controlled from this with this giving fill. So it's a really neat setup, and it's, like I say, it's sort of a no-brainer not to have one on your camera these days, because it really improves results. And that was the whole point of shooting this, is to introduce people to the idea of dual flash and how good it can make your photos in sunlight look. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll think of something else to photograph and talk about.